Hello, smart investors. We welcome to our series of real estate made easy. We'll be continuing our discussions today on important land document and title you should know and you should have when you are making your real estate transaction. In our previous discussion, we talked about why is it advisable for you to buy land with an acquisition process as title, and we promise to shed more light on important land document and land title you should have when you are making a real estate transaction. So let's get down to business. Basically, land, in talking of land classification, land can be classified as either free or acquired. When the land is free, it simply means that government has not indicated any interest on that land, and so buyers are free to purchase that land and they can perfect their document. In most cases, such land can have a document such as the Gazette, CFO, or government consent. Now that you understand what it means for land to be free, you should know that lands that fall within urban area are often and are usually under government acquisition until they are deemed committed or it is free. Now, there are two types of acquisition. One, we have committed acquisition. Two, we have global or general acquisition. Now, what does it mean to say land is under a committed acquisition? What it simply means is that a parcel of land that is under a committed acquisition, when government has indicated interest on it, there is no one that can buy such land again. It simply means that when a land is said to be under a committed acquisition, it means that government has indicated its own interest to use that land for the purpose of the citizen, maybe in creation of amenities like road, like electricity, power plants, and many other like that. So no individual can buy a land that is under a committed acquisition. Now, but the other form of acquisition we have is the global or general acquisition. For instance, now if a land is under general or global acquisition, such land can later be free or committed as the case may be. Now, a land that is under general acquisition becomes free by a process known as excision. You remember yesterday we tried to shed light on excision, and what excision simply means is that it is a process whereby government releases a portion of an expanse of land that is not committed for the use of those within those community. And it simply means that that land now can have a title as a decision then perfected into what? A gazette. The gazette then becomes the title on that land that it was initially under a general acquisition that has been processed by those in those community to have a decision, and now government has what gazetted it. I do not know whether you understand what it means now by an decision. A decision simply means is a process, an expert of land. And I'll give an instance the other time. The way I say let's say we have about 10 acres of land. Then government, okay, out of this 10 acres of land, you community, you ancestral owner of this place, we are giving you 5, you are taking 5. So the 5 that has been given to those community, the process of excision is then what gazetted. Gazette is an official record of government. Now that that is understood, and once that land has been gazetted or has an excision as title, that land is a good buy. You can go ahead and buy such land. You can even perfect your document to have a governor consent or CFO as you so desire. I believe that is understood. Now, the second case whereby a land that is under general acquisition can be released to an individual for its own use without necessarily going through the process of acquisition is going through another process called ratification or regularization. Now, what it simply means that individual in this case only pays for the land to be regularized or ratified. And once it is done, such land then can be used by such an individual or even entity. Now that you understand the classifications of land, let us now look at the meaning of each of the necessary land documents you should have when you are making a real estate transaction. Let's start with the deed of assignment. Most people often when they have their cars have document to that car intact. Even the necessary roadworthiness tests and all of that, the VIO, all of those necessary documents, they ensure they have it intact. But surprisingly, that when people buy land, important documents such as deed of assignment are often overlooked, which is of course in most cases are this land they are buying tend to be more expensive, tend to be more valuable in the long run than even the vehicle that they spend all out sort of fund to ensure they have their document on it. As a smart real estate investor, ensure that having deed of assignment is key as you having your necessary document to your car or your vehicles. A deed of assignment is one of transactional documents you have when you are making real estate transaction. It's usually between the title holder of that land and then you, the new buyer. In a real estate transaction, basically, a deed of assignment is a document that is drawn by a legal attorney that shows that the interest of that land has been transferred from the original possessor of the land to you, the new buyer, and it is documented for future reference, for of course, for security purpose. Now, the deed contains very pertinent information such as one, the date when that ownership will transfer, the integrity of what transpire when you are making that land, where is the land located, what size of the land is it, what title on it, every necessary, how much do you pay for it, from who was the land originally transferred, from whom you are buying it now, and all those necessary details are documented in the deed of assignment. So you can see that a deed of assignment is one important document you should have when you are making real estate transaction. At no point in time should you overlook it that something you think it's not that necessary. It's very, very necessary. It's very compulsory and mandatory for a deed of assignment to also be recorded at the appropriate land registry. And when it is done, then you can that is what makes such transaction legal even in the eye of the law, that is in the eye of the government. And once that is done, you can even go ahead and have the stamp duty on it, and then you can either have a governor consent or register surveillance after it has been stamped at the stamp duties office. So it is very important that deed of assignment is not only the document indicating a transfer of ownership. Take note of that. But when you are making real estate transaction, other necessary documents you should have other than the deed of assignment, which might even come very much later. The very important one you should have in order includes one, your receipt, purchase receipt. No excuse as to why you should not get a receipt after purchasing a land. No excuse whatsoever. And funny enough, receipt can come in different form. Even if the person doesn't have a printer, doesn't have a, he can draft out something, and then you ensure that please the money is paid. Once the money is paid, you get your receipt. If receipt is not available, you do not make payment. Because one, even before you go to the law and what have you, the basic evidence of you having an access to the land is that you have paid for it. If it is not that it is the deed of transfer, and maybe the individual transferred the lands to you, maybe because of the relationship you've had, or because of one thing or the another, or because of business transaction you've had, and then instead of you paying, you are saying that you have rendered this service, so I'm giving you land in return to the service you have rendered. That is another case entirely. But if it is a land you are paying for, as soon as you are making your payment, you have a receipt. Even if it's even that is very key. So that than deed of assignment, you have your purchase receipt. Not only that, you should have what we call a contract of sale. A contract of sale is different from a deed of assignment. A contract of sale simply shows that you have made this purchase. You are paid for so and so, and between you and the company whom you are buying from, I'm talking about real estate company. This is the contract you are having. You know that this is the size of the land. You know you've been to it. You pay. You've been to the land. If when you have the opportunity of doing so, or you have somebody that you can trust to go to the land on your behalf. This is another important lesson you should please note. It's important that you have an idea of where the land is, so that you do not have an imaginary land in another place you are thinking it is located. So Having done that, you have a contract of sale which transfer also shows you the relationship between you and the company, and what the company is going to do, what is expected of you as an individual to who have purchased the land that's expected of you. So that is what the deed of assignment contains. They also have a survey plan. A survey plan shows you the expanse of land and all of that other information. We also talked about this during the course of this discussion. They also have a building plan if you are buying a house, because it's very important that you should know that what kind of building can you build on this expanse of land or this estate you are investing in. But definitely, in imagine an serious estate, you wouldn't want to build what is called a face man face you. You don't know whether you understand what it means. That it's simply it's face man face you is as an house apartment between one neighbor and another. So it's just a door that is separating you. So what you are doing in door A, another person in door B can see. So usually there's not much security, there's not much privacy in such setting. It's often seen in the rural area though. Now, so this other than the deed of assignment as earlier mentioned, the other important thing you should document you have when you are making your real estate purchase include the purchase receipt, the contract of sale, the deed of assignment as I said is very important, the survey plan, and if it's building, you should also have a building plan. You should know the kind of building you can build on that. Although you should also note that these documents can come in different stages. For instance, now when you are buying the land, the first things you have include your receipt and your contract of sale, or even a letter of acknowledgement that you have paid this and you're expected to pay this. Then when you have made all necessary payments, you have your survey plan as well as what your deed of assignment. That means that now the land can now be transferred to you. Now let's quickly now shed more light on the survey plan. A survey plan is a document that usually measures the boundary of a parcel of land. It gives accurate measurement and description of where the land is. The people that often handle that kind of thing on land are are the surveyors. So they measure the land, they record necessary details about it, and document it. That is when it now becomes a booklet. You see a survey plan after it has must have been registered at appropriate land registry. So that is understood. A survey plan must contain very important information such as one, the name of the owner of the land that is surveyed, who owns that land. Two, the address or description of where that land is. That is the land that is surveyed. Where is it? And what are those things that describe it? And of course, the size of the land that is surveyed. You should also have the drawn out portion of the land that is surveyed and map out on the survey plan document. Another thing you should also have on the survey plan is the beacon number. The surveyor who do the survey plan also need to state it and need to, of course, stamp it. That is a stamp showing that the land is either free from government acquisition or not. A survey plan is very, very important because it also enables you to know that yes, you are the real owner of this land. Two people cannot have the same survey plan claiming ownership of the same land unless they both combine to buy it. So that means that even when somebody wants to transfer your land, or somebody is building on your land, or somebody is doing one thing or another on your land without your consent, one thing you can use to claim that is to show that yes, this is where your land starts from, this is where your land ends. And how would you know that if you don't have a survey plan? How would you also know that you are the real owner of the land? Imagine that you have a large portion of land in a particular place and you travel a very long distance, have a journey for many years. You don't even know where the land was. But because of the fact that you have the document and you know everything that when you return from your journey, perhaps you travel to UK or Dubai for many years, then you return to Nigeria or wherever your land is. One of the easiest things you can use to trace where that land is your survey plan. With the help of your surveyor, you can know, okay, this is where that, even somebody else has built on that land. One of the things by which you can claim that land is when you having a proof that this land belongs to you. How? Those other documents you've earlier talked about. Two, your survey plan. Hope that is now understood. So then, Talking furthermore on the land title, we have earlier talked about annexation. And you already know what annexation means. Annexation simply means basically taking a part from a whole. I'll give you an example. If you have a tiny acres of land, taking about two or three, giving it to those who are the community for the use, if that land has not been under government acquisition. So once that land has been excised, it's then documented in the government record in form of gazette. So gazette is another land title, which is an of course is an official record where all special government details are spelled out, detailed, and recorded. That's what gazette entails, and that's what gazettes mean. So a gazette shows the communities or villages that have been granted excision, the number of acres or hectares of land that has been given to them by government is documented in that gazette. It's also within those excised acres or acres that transactions can occur. That is, now those who own those land can decide to sell or use it for other things for themselves without necessarily the fear of maybe government taking over what they have sold or what they have bought. That means that if you want to buy land and then you want to go to bed, you should have consider having land that have the minimum title as a session or gazette. Then of course we all know that we have other ones like the governor consent and seal for which we are going to discuss further in the course of this discussion. So a gazette is a very powerful instrument that the community owns and can replace with the what with certificate of occupancy, that is C of O, that grant the title to the village or the community. And of course, even with that, they can as well process their what their government consent. The best way to know whether a land is under acquisition or has has gotten an excision is that land has been covered by a gazette, and is to get a surveyor to chart that site and take it to the surveyor general's office to do the land information to confirm whether that fall within the gazette and spell out which particular location that land can be found. So it's very important that you also do what we call land information system to know that okay, this land I'm talking about, is it within those portions that the government has given out to this community? Is it within those portions that has been in government record? So that you can be safe of what you are doing. Now, I've not understood different land title now more, and of course you have understood certain documents you should have as well. Let's then of course talk about the popular known title to land, that is a certificate of occupancy. Certificate of occupancy are issued by Lagos State government officially, i.e. state government. If you are within states that own, of course states must have governor, so it's usually the governor of the state that gives issue the certificate of occupancy. It simply means that that land, for example, for the case of Lagos State, has been leased officially from the government of the state to you, the applicant, for a period of 99 years. As we have earlier said in our various previous discussions, that all lands belongs to the government. So it is government that can either excise the land, can either document it in a record in form of gazette, or give you in form of governor consent, or even give you another title in form of a C of O. What then is governor consent? Well, explaining governor consent, this has been a debate among so many academicians, lawyers, and intellectuals. They've tried to explain what the governor consent is, and of course, they end up convincing you and I, common individual. But however, we won't do that. We want you to understand what governor consent means in a very simple detail. So, a simple formula to go about this is this: the first person on the virgin land, that's in a land that has not been occupied by anyone before, that has not been bought by anyone before, those are the people that are often entitled to what we call certificate of occupancy. C of O, other one than C of O. C of O cannot be owned by two people. Two people don't own C of O on the same parcel of land. So the first person to possess that is person that have a C of O. If that person that own that land now with a C of O then intends to sell it, or another person intends to buy that land for a person that has a C of O, the second person cannot get C of O on that same land again. What the other person will get what is known as governor consent. It means that the government of that state needs to give its consent to that purchase, that okay, this transfer between you and this new person, you that have been given the CFO, have now consented that okay, this other person is having this title on that land. So the other person that wants to buy a land that have been previously purchased by somebody with C of O as title, the new title the second buyer we have is governor consent. I hope that is understood in a simple sense. It simply means that if that other person now wants to sell the land again, or another person wants to buy that land again from that second person, the other person as well cannot get a C of O, will have a governor consent. What it means is that if a person with C of O decide to sell his land to another person after so many years, or if after the person has gotten his aim for the purchase, or the person is no longer in need of that land and needs the money or wants to do another thing which is our life other than that land, the person must now obtain the consent of the governor before that transaction can be deemed legal in the eye of government. So if the new buyer now decides to sell the land again to a third person in future, the third owner must also obtain a new consent of the governor before that transaction can be deemed fit. So that's simply what it means by a governor consent. First person, now let's give this example again. First person to buy land A as a C of O. The second person to buy land A as a governor consent. The third person to buy land A as a governor consent, and it continues and continues. That means the only person that is entitled to have a C of O is the first person to buy land A. Subsequent buyers get what is known as governor's consent. I hope that is clear. Now that's good. So it is important that we understand these important land and documents and land title when we want to, of course, buy a land. The powers of the governor to consent to such transaction can be found in section 22 of the Land Use Act of 1978 as amended, and simply state that it shall not be lawful for the holder of a statutory right of occupancy granted by the governor to alienate his rights of occupancy or any part of it therefore thereof by assignment, mortgage, and transfer of possession, sublease, or otherwise, howsoever, without the consent of the governor first and obtained. So that can be found in section 22 of the Land Use Act of 1978 that give the governor of a state the power to consent to the transaction of such land that has previously gotten what a C of O as title. With this power, the governor has the right to grant consent by any transaction which things has not contravened any law of the land, and the consent must be obtained by the government, not in a fraudulent way, and then the governor is entitled to either grant it or not. So I haven't understood the importance of governor consent when you are buying a land. It's very important that you pursue it. Though some of these documents, the governor consent is don't usually come that easy. But then what's worth doing at all is worth doing well. So ensure that at least if you are interested in perfecting your land document, ensure you do the needful, follow the right process, follow the right procedure, and then you'll be able to ensure that your land is safe and secure. You won't build a mansion or a parcel of land and then be afraid of government. Maybe they in any day, anytime, government may decide to break down your building because that land you have built your house on is not free by the government. Government has not consented to that land. The government has not even given you the license to do so. You only find that land to be a bush and then decide, okay, you take advantage of it. No, there actually no place that is a bush. Government have record of virtually every land within the state. So it's important that you do not get dumped uh, duped by people who are scammers who just want to make quick money and then want to swindle you of your hard-earned money. Very important to ensure that you, when you're making a real estate transaction, do the needful, get the facts, get the necessary documents you need to have, get ensure that the title of the land is what it is, and then you can go to bed with both eyes closed. Then you can of course expect your investment to appreciate in value. Now, the advantages and problems of getting a governor consent. The truth is that obtaining a government consent from land bureau isn't the easiest thing you can ever imagine doing, despite the importance that is attached to it. Of course, this is due to many bureaucracy you can have in government. The government people, you have to settle this, you have to settle that. Many way you need to bribe this, give them. If it's something that's just not supposed to cost more than a few days, with just talking amount of money can end you spending several months, and even spending unnecessary amount of money you didn't budget for. But that's one of those disadvantages in there. That's one of the challenges. But it's not a disadvantage, as I've earlier said, that what was doing is what doing well. So you should not get discouraged by that. Approach the right people, approach the right authority to get the right document, to get the right title for your land. I hope with this we have discussed so far, you'll be able to understand certain land document and certain land titles you have as a smart investor in real estate, so as to have a peace of mind when you are making a real estate transaction. Please feel free to comment, share, and of course ask questions on this issue we've discussed, or any other issue that may be of concern to you, and we would try as much as possible to respond to your questions, and we'll be ready to assist you in any way we need our help. Feel free to turn on your notification button to get updates from us whenever we post our episode on. This is one of our series of real estate made easy. We hope you gain value for your time. You can reach us on 081 8496 4460. Again, 081 8496 4460. And if you are outside Nigeria, you can simply reach us on +234 81 84 96 44 60. You can also visit our website at www.bekalidconsult.com. That is, or visit the other website www.bekalid.com. Bekalid is spelled BELKALID.com. Bekalid.com. That is our website. You can as well send out an email at bekalid@gmail.com. Feel free to ask us any questions. Feel free to share and comment. We hope you're enjoying your time with us. We wish you the very best in your real estate investment. We thank you for your time. Please stay safe and stay smart. Thank you. Thank you.